Hey, what's up YouTube? Scale Model Assassin back again, and don't worry, my skills get better from here on out. I attach improved metal gun barrels, and I'll spend tens of minutes searching for that rigging piece that flew off into the carpet. The letter S at the end of the model does not stand for simple, but it does mean that this kit comes with a couple extra photo etch frets and metal gun barrels and masts. This model is an excellent example of a mostly out-of-the-box build that has lots of extra details. If you don't want to search for aftermarket parts all over the internet, but want extreme detail, then this kit is for you. A wooden deck and rigging were the only aftermarket parts that I used. Even the molded detail on the kit plastic parts was superb. These types of pieces are prevalent on many ships, and the trick is not to overglue them. A little bit of super glue on the two ends is enough to hold them in place and not risk having a lot of excess glue marks. Your paint and clear coat will also help hold them firmly in place, eventually. Some type of bending form is necessary to achieve the curved railing edges, even if it's just the handle of a paintbrush. This rolling tool doesn't have the exact curvature I need, but it gets close enough that I can form the rest with my fingers or use a paintbrush handle. The curvy railing came as a single piece and was a nightmare, even with a fancy rolling tool. So many bends in opposite directions. I ended up cutting it into smaller, manageable pieces. There is a lot of dry fitting, guess and check, until you get the exact angles you need. It's not like I use a compass or protractor here, I just eyeball it and use a little pressure until it looks good. The three paint mixes I used for the various shades of gray were specified in the instructions. This literally saved hours of guesswork and mixing and matching to try different colors of paint. I can't say enough nice things about this kit and will definitely be looking for Flyhawk ships like this in the future. Here, the wooden deck sticker is temporarily laid into place to help fit other parts. It adds 0.5 millimeter to the deck height, which actually does make a difference for the stairs and other objects which are in contact with the deck. I added some photo etch pieces like these lifeboat stands after my first coat of paint, just in case it became difficult to paint underneath them. As usual, the lifeboats were a fun adventure. Not really, just kidding. I do save all my takeout plasticware or takeaway from COVID, and I have repurposed this knife to help me as a holder while I paint small parts. I used masking fluid to help with the camo pattern, and unfortunately it damaged some of my thin photo etch parts which were lightly glued in place. Of course, I re-glued them and eliminated the issue. I just thought you should know about my pains and struggles. This plane consists of 13 different pieces and wasn't difficult enough for me, so I decided to cut the wings and glue them into the folded position. I painted it with a Flexifile brush, which is my favorite brand right now, and Vallejo paints. Next, I applied the Aquagloss clear coat over every piece and slathered on an oil wash. I backmasked the black waterline stripe with white elastic tape. The yellow tape you see is precisely measured and used as a guideline to make the backmask straight. I got lucky in that the wooden deck I bought also came with masks for the deck and the hull camo. I had no idea it would have all that, and it was one of those purchases where there's minimal product description and it ships out of China, and you're just happy that the package shows up a month later and it's not a scam. The dreaded swastika didn't come out entirely symmetrical after my first round of painting, so there was some additional rounds of masking to even out the edges. That mask was also included with the wooden deck. What a deal! I sponged some oil paint onto the hull so that it wasn't such a flat reddish color. Once it dried, I airbrushed a very thin layer of hull red on top so that I could control the final color and let just a small bit of that oil paint show through. Plus, it would have taken weeks for that much oil paint to fully dry. I used a dark brown wash on the upper hull that sits above the waterline, as well as the wooden deck. Much of the paint is soaked into the wood, but can be dabbed up with some mineral spirits. And even though the deck has good coloration out of the box, I think adding a wash makes it more interesting, as you can see as compared on the left versus the right. I mentioned earlier that everything you see here, minus the wooden deck, was straight out of the box. an extraordinary amount of detail that usually isn't achievable until purchasing aftermarket parts. I would have preferred to add the railings earlier in the build in case there were glue marks which needed fixing, but it would have been difficult to impossible to add the wooden deck over them. The anchors did not have a chain link running through the eyelet, so I made my own with stretching some sprue and then melting it into a loop with extra thin cement. This made a huge improvement in the visual effect of connecting a very nice molded anchor to the chain which was molded onto the deck. My extra thin super glue applicator is just a piece of copper wire that is twisted to form an eyelet which holds the glue. The tip is black because eventually it fills up with dried glue and then I burn it off with a lighter. This rigging was much harder than I made it look, and yes, it took quite some time. Some of these pieces took more than a couple attempts. It's intimidating to be adding super glue at this point in the build where there's no room for error and you don't want to repaint anything. A wooden toothpick helped absorb the extra thin excess glue so it didn't create a blob, and painting with a matte varnish took away the shine of any dried glue. The Scharnhorst underwent quite a few different paint schemes in her short lifespan. I've chosen the one from 1943, which is what was specified in the instructions. Yes, I do find it odd that she had two enormous swastika targets painted on the deck, and the yellow gun turrets are a little strange too. They basically say, drop your bombs right here. I guess it does add some color to the typical Battleship gray, so that part was kind of neat. Anyways, hope you like the build, and I will see you on the next one.